To wage a continental war, an army must consume a staggering amount of mass. Ammunition, fuel, spare parts, and rations are measured not in pounds, but in thousands of tons per day. For the logistics officers of the German Wehrmacht, there was only one vehicle on Earth capable of moving this level of mass across Europe: the steam locomotive. The German military mind was deeply, fundamentally rail-bound. European military doctrine since the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 had been dictated by railway timetables. Trains were a miracle of efficiency. A single heavy locomotive pulling 50 boxcars could move over 1,000 tons of supplies hundreds of miles in a single day, requiring only a handful of crewmen and burning domestically mined coal. In the German logistical calculus, trucks were merely a last-mile delivery system. A truck was supposed to pick up supplies from a major rail depot and carry them the final 10 or 20 miles to the frontline trenches. The idea of using a truck to move supplies hundreds of miles from a seaport directly to the front was considered absolute mathematical insanity. Trucks required immense amounts of liquid petroleum and rubber for tires, two resources the Third Reich desperately lacked. Therefore, when the Allies invaded France in 1944, the German strategy was seemingly bulletproof. As the Wehrmacht retreated, they systematically blew up railway bridges, destroyed switching yards, and annihilated the French rail network. The German generals confidently reported to Berlin that the American advance would stall within weeks. Without functioning trains, they believed, a modern mechanized army simply could not survive. But the German logistics officers were entirely blind to the industrial reality across the Atlantic. They expected the Americans to stop and rebuild the tracks. Instead, the Americans brought the highway with them. The fatal flaw of the German reliance on rail was a concept known in modern engineering as network fragility. A railway is a highly centralized, rigid, hub-and-spoke system. It is incredibly efficient, but it is deeply intolerant of disruption. Trains cannot steer. They cannot detour through a farmer's field. If you drop a single 500-pound bomb on a major railway junction, or if a French partisan blows up a single critical bridge, the entire line is paralyzed. Hundreds of trains back up for miles, becoming stationary targets for Allied fighter bombers. The Wehrmacht spent massive amounts of manpower desperately trying to repair static tracks, bleeding resources just to keep their iron arteries pumping. The United States military planners recognized this vulnerability long before they landed in Europe. They knew the railways would be destroyed, either by Allied bombing prior to D-Day or by retreating Germans. To solve this, the United States decided to completely bypass the rigid infrastructure of the 19th century and deploy a revolutionary, decentralized mesh network of motorized rubber. The weapon that broke the German logistical calculus was not a tank or a bomber. It was the GMC Kakwa, universally known as the Deuce and a Half. This 2.5-ton, 6x6 cargo truck was the ultimate manifestation of American standardized manufacturing. While German factories were producing dozens of different, over-engineered truck models with non-interchangeable parts, the U.S. government forced the American automotive industry to consolidate. They demanded a single, universal, indestructible cargo platform. The Deuce and a Half was an engineering marvel of brute force simplicity. It featured all-wheel drive across 3 axles, allowing it to claw through deep mud and ruined roads that would swallow a conventional vehicle. Powered by the incredibly reliable GMC straight-six engine, it could carry massively overloaded cargo beds without breaking its heavy-duty leaf springs. But its true power was in its sheer volume. The United States manufactured over 800,000 2.5-ton trucks during the war. To put that into perspective, the U.S. Army had more trucks operating in the European theater alone than the entire German military possessed on all fronts combined. When the French rail network failed, the Americans simply unleashed this motorized swarm. This created a profound paradigm shift in military logistics. The transition from a rigid hub-and-spoke railway system to a fluid, self-healing mesh network of trucks. If a German railway bridge was destroyed, the supply line died. If an American convoy encountered a destroyed highway bridge, the lead truck simply shifted into low gear, drove down the embankment, forded the river, and drove up the other side, with 1,000 trucks following right behind it. The American truck network was essentially immune to tactical bombing. You cannot paralyze a supply line made of 50,000 independent vehicles by blowing up a single intersection. The trucks would simply scatter, reroute through rural dirt roads, and converge again at the front lines. The ultimate expression of this was the Red Ball Express, a continuous, looping highway system carved out of the French countryside by American military police. By dedicating specific, one-way roads entirely to truck traffic, the U.S. Army artificially replicated the volume of a railway system using rubber tires. Driving day and night, American quartermaster troops delivered over 400,000 tons of supplies over open roads in just 3 months, completely shattering the German assumption that the Allied advance would stall. For the German logistics officers captured during the Allied advance, observing the American rear echelon was a deeply traumatic, paradigm-breaking experience. They had been taught that rubber and oil were precious, finite commodities to be hoarded, yet they watched in disbelief as endless, horizon-spanning columns of heavy American trucks idled in traffic jams, burning oceans of gasoline, rolling on millions of pounds of flawless vulcanized rubber. The Wehrmacht had spent years painstakingly calculating train schedules, managing coal reserves, and protecting fragile rail yards. The Americans had effectively outsourced their logistics to the sheer, brute force mass production of Detroit. The U.S. Army didn't need to rebuild the infrastructure of Europe because their infrastructure was bolted to the chassis of a GMC truck. The failure of German intelligence was not just a failure to count American tanks or planes. It was a fundamental inability to comprehend the scale of American automotive motorization. The German generals relied on the iron constraints of the 19th century. They believed that geography and ruined tracks would protect them. But the United States Army proved that when you combine standardized engineering with the unlimited industrial capacity of a superpower, you don't need a track. The logistics officers of the Wehrmacht never expected trucks to replace rail lines because, in the German economy, it was mathematically impossible. But in the American economy, it was just another day on the assembly line. The Deuce and a Half didn't just carry ammunition, it carried the future of global, decentralized logistics, leaving the rigid, fragile rails of the Third Reich rusting in the dirt.